Alright, so I'm gonna read a chapter or something that I wrote lately to help celebrate this supposedly too frequent upload rate I'm doing for my channel lately. But I'm gonna read it out loud, and then I'm not gonna show any snippets of what the text is saying or even what it is, not to hide it or anything, but not even to show the grammar and punctuation issues, as all it would suggest. But I'm gonna basically read it, avoid some kinds of some crude language in there every once in a while. I'm gonna read it. It's just 2 pages long. It's called Clyde. No, it's called Curve is Not Clyde, and I'm going to basically show you that that what I basically just did in the last half hour was or less is actually pretty ideal. It's like I wore sunglasses in, so I didn't wear my glasses writing this down, and I also didn't edit it. So it's the best way to kind of nano remo style kind of like write on this stuff and not have to worry about editing even with modern technology and doing it in a way where I didn't even see 2020 vision into it. I was just like, I wasn't always squinting, but I was just trying to make sure I could obviously write it without over editing it, but I also wanted to see if I could write something that was true to me, even if it looked random and pointless. But just it was definitely fun to make. In my own opinion, it was also worth it for like the actual depth of the writing itself. It's very deep if you get past the fact that it's random, and even in spite of it being random, it's actually really deep because the randomness explains some of the deep stuff of even the way you actually hear about Clyde taking out the guards and all that, in the lore behind why the guards have these universal powers or whatever. Yeah, so I'll get straight into it, and yeah, I'll read it from my Google Docs. Okay. The header and footer are different. They happen twice each page, obviously, but that's how I said it. The header says, "You have very nimble fingers. Remember to skim this book whenever your wisdom demands it." That's in reference to how people who don't skim books will just go through the trouble of peeling the first page open and reading it normally and not cheating hack books. At least maybe that's you can never really get away with doing that with hack books, because hack books you have to read every single page and maybe even every single book anyways, so you don't miss information. But whenever I was clever with skimming books, and yeah, I was able to get most of the information without most of the book, and I was able to do it before for years. So not always, but so that tethers in reference to giving the leap of faith to skimming, even if you're already used to reading the entirety of things for the best context. And I understand that. That's actually probably the best way anyways, but the philosophy of this book is very different in other ways anyways, obviously reflecting my own philosophy. So so yeah, basically, yeah, if you have very nimble fingers, still remember to skim the book if you can, if you want to. But yeah, anyways, with the book, here we go. Curve was not Clyde. Clyde is not the main protagonist, yet never mind, he is. Forget the spelling issues and even unconventional grammar in this narration, not to mention how creative it is in a non-creative professional manner. And, fellow reader, if you enjoy living in the moment, you will still not always easily understand the lack of action orientation and entertainment within these very pages. Clyde took out the first guard with aesthetical ease that not even the non-existent manga of this cartoon animated series could explain to its audience about the pros and cons. Pros is misspelled. Pros and cons of in the with and in and aesthetical and the from the other paragraph. Okay, the pros and cons of each varying medium. It's a grammar issue, just that polarized. Clyde looked at his palm, spelling issue, and took a few seconds to readjust jis. So no space and misspelled its. Slinky arms. I meant to spell that as some other word. Yes, not slinky. Arms to stride toward the other end of the hall. And are you paying attention to any of my random messages? Give me a fudging break. Fudge you. And thus the PG rating of this book increased not only at random in quotations, indeed screw you, but then Clyde stopped to then take out a guard again. Following this consequently, so there was no difference to be made as grammar issues. Consequently, in the most traditional classic version, so not negative, but like leading to. So I'm very fussed about even that stuff like that. So except that the reader should pay attention to living in the moment random messages. Albeit that explanation alone sounds pretty contradictory, but that's only because Clyde, misspelling his U and Mill, was then going to barrel roll on the ground and trip over a guard doing the. So the footer on the first page says, the only regret I have are from the people think I have any at all. From not that anonymous voice. Not so much of an anonymous voice is the only regret I had. People, basically, yeah. I'll read it again at the other page if I can, and then obviously the header again for the next page. If you remember, it was the one I said earlier was you have very nimble fingers. Remember to skim the book, basically. So if you wasn't advance it, so yeah, from the other end of the page, it's like I said, but that's only because Clyde was then going to barrel on the ground and trip over guard, doing the universal defense mechanism that the main antagonist, villain, opposite Otto, or Cobbett, in their own story, that is, except it's misspelled, villain's misspelled, Cobbett is not understood, so that thought was misspelled. That is, except only exactly the story in itself for creative reasons. To explain that without too many messages, basically, no. Clyde takes out the guard during the effects mechanism that was given to him through a horrifying is misspelled, wisdom of the universe has a 4 in it, and for some reason, they are, haha, gotcha, I'm still explaining, I'm still have some kind of grammar issue. That when doing surprisingly random movements, they still enable certain features of attack and defense and more, as such as misspelled, protection from bullet fire and instant kills, and the list goes on. By the way, guys, I'm not actually saying in the book that these are all misspellings and grammar issues. I'm just saying them out loud for now, to entertain, to kind of just bring them out there, even though I don't have to. But I'm just doing it for my own engulfment, and if not actually like doing something different, I guess, unique. You may be wondering how Clyde is getting rid of them with charismatic ease, knowing their intimidating knowledge as an army. In order to understand that, misspelled, you have to understand these has a grammar issue or misspelled. Random narration, and when you do, this will come to you way sooner than you think. Udis has no connotation. There has no apostrophe for the contraction. Clyde curves his way over to the main room. Curve is not Clyde. Both Curve and Clyde are not capitalized. Curve was Clyde's, no apostrophe. Female frame character design was the movement he just added in front just for some reason. Made in the last sentence. And I am not Clyde. Clyde has a big capital L for some reason. Either. I'm Lisk. No capitals either. Neither Clyde and Lisk have the marks on them for punctuation grammar, but they're still incorrect in a way. So, even though Lisk is technically a word. So, yeah. And Clyde is but someone willing to be involved in something that, while none of his business, does so in a way that goes both politically resistant and really does a protagonist because he chooses to act in a solving problem in his own story. Last footer says, the only regret I have are from the people thinking of any at all. Not that honest voice. That's the same footer and the same header from the last page. I said the last sentence really fast, like the fastest I've spoken was the last sentence, and then the rest of this entire chapter or whatever, I spoke really loud anyways, and no, really loud, either really loud or way too fast, mostly too fast, and didn't even reveal to you what I was even saying with this stuff yet. Honest, that was reading the whole thing and adding my own caveat to it. Speaking really fast, not even like just reading it. I could have just read it without explaining any of the punctuations and grammar stuff, but that's kind of the point of this experiment, I guess, was just to read a chapter snippet of something that either made no sense or had more depth to it than seen at first glance. So I read it kind of fast on purpose because I didn't want to have to stop for anything, especially not even explaining the the punctuation and grammar stuff. So for those last minute and a half, I'm gonna just basically say for this title, I should probably title this video Curve is not Clyde, and Google Docs story writing something kind of video, whatever, or something more creative and alluring than that, But yeah, that was not embarrassing for me to read. That was actually, I just wrote that just this afternoon, so I don't even feel like it's actually an embarrassment. It's not even just something to desperately get out of video out for my different era of content creation this time. It's not even just to do that. It's not even to make it that frequent, or an excuse to therein. It's because I want to see what I can do with this. This whole chapter was an experiment on Google Docs. It was just like either test out Google Docs, which I've been preparing for anyways. I do still like Microsoft Word stuff. I like a lot of Microsoft stuff, but in a nutshell. However concerning that may seem, because I'm starting to learn to use more popular stuff. I'm starting to learn how to use stuff like OBS. If I would ever to Photoshop and Premiere Pro and OBS and all these other ones, I've been using Audacity, but with Google Docs, it's not even like I shy away from it because it's well known, convenient. But I used it because I finally knew I would need to eventually, and I've been using it over the years anyways. I've been using it in earlier years, but I need to give it more chances because I know I have been shying away from it on accident too. So that was all I needed to say for now. Stay so, because someone's just on the move, everyone. Take care. Thank you guys.